The Grand Celestial Hall was the most beautiful place in the entire empire. Giant crystal pillars rose from the floor to the ceiling, each one glowing with soft blue light. Thousands of guests filled the hall, their whispers echoing like waves on a distant shore. They had come from every corner of the galaxy to witness something that had never happened before. A princess of the mighty empire was marrying a human. Princess stood at the altar, her back straight and her face calm. She was tall, nearly 8 feet, with silver skin that shimmered like moonlight on water. She had 4 eyes, all of them violet, and they watched the doors at the far end of the hall with quiet patience. Her body was strong and muscular, built from centuries of warrior breeding. They were conquerors. They had ruled their corner of the galaxy for 10,000 years. And now, their third princess was being given to a human as part of a political deal. The doors opened and saw her future husband for the first time. His name was, he was small, so terribly small. He barely reached 6 feet and his frame was thin compared to the massive warriors who lined the aisle. His skin was a warm brown color, his hair black and neatly combed. He wore a simple dark suit, the formal clothing of his people, and he walked toward her with steady steps. Studied him as he approached. She looked for strength in his arms and found none. She looked for power in his stride and saw only gentleness. She looked into his eyes, hoping to find the fire of a warrior, but all she saw was kindness, warmth, a soft smile that seemed almost shy. This was the creature she would spend her life with, this fragile, delicate human from a planet called Earth. The whispers around her grew louder. She could hear what the nobles were saying, even though they tried to hide their words behind their ceremonial fans. Poor princess, what a waste. Humans are so weak. I heard they die from simple diseases. She will be his protector, not his wife. How embarrassing. Kept her face still. She would not show her feelings to these fools. The marriage was necessary. Earth sat near the Void Corridor, the most important trade route in the galaxy. They needed access to that route. The humans, being new to galactic politics, needed protection from the many dangers that lurked in the darkness between stars. This marriage would bind their peoples together. It was strategy, not romance. Reached the altar and looked up at her. He had to tilt his head back to meet her eyes and for a moment felt a strange mix of emotions. He looked so small standing before her, so vulnerable, and yet he did not seem afraid. He simply smiled and reached out his hand. "Hello," he said. His voice was soft and warm. "I am honored to meet you, princess." She took his hand. His grip was gentle, his skin smooth against her rough silver palm. She could feel the heat of his body, much warmer than her own cold-blooded kind. "I am pleased to meet you as well," she replied, the words feeling strange on her tongue. The ceremony was long and filled with ancient traditions. Barely paid attention. She was too busy watching her new husband, trying to understand this strange creature she had been bonded to. He stood patiently through every ritual, never complaining, never showing discomfort. When the priests asked him to kneel, he knelt. When they asked him to speak the sacred words, he spoke them perfectly, his pronunciation careful and respectful. By the time the ceremony ended, had formed her first opinion of. He was polite. He was obedient. He was completely and utterly harmless. The weeks that followed only confirmed her belief. Moved into her chambers without complaint. He brought very few possessions from Earth, just some books, some strange plants, and a long wooden box that he placed carefully in the corner of their room. When asked what was inside, he simply smiled and said it was a family treasure, nothing important. He spent his days quietly. In the mornings, he would wake early and read in the palace library, studying history and culture with surprising dedication. In the afternoons, he worked on a small garden he had started on their balcony, growing flowers and vegetables from seeds he had brought from Earth. In the evenings, he would cook dinner for them both, though his attempts at cuisine were often disasters. "I burned it again," he said one night, holding up a smoking pot with a sheepish expression. "I am so sorry. I will try harder tomorrow." looked at the ruined meal and felt something unexpected. Not anger, not disappointment, something softer, something almost like affection. "It is fine," she said. "We will eat at the palace kitchen tonight." Smiled at her, genuine gratitude in his eyes. "Thank you for being patient with me. I know this is not the marriage you wanted. I know I am not what you expected, but I will do my best to be a good husband." Did not know how to respond. In culture, marriages were about power, about alliances, about producing strong heirs. No one talked about being good to each other. No one tried to make burned dinners or grow flowers on balconies. But as the months passed, she found herself looking forward to these small moments, asking about her day, remembering that she liked her tea with extra honey, falling asleep in the library surrounded by books about her people. He was strange. He was weak. He was nothing like the warrior husband she had once imagined. But he was kind. And in the cold, political world of the court, kindness was rarer than any treasure. She began to care for him, not as a wife loves a husband, not yet, but as a protector cares for someone in their charge. She would keep him safe. She would shield him from the dangers of the galaxy. He was her responsibility now. She had no idea how wrong she was about everything. 3 months had passed since the wedding and had grown comfortable with her new life. The council meetings were long and boring, filled with arguments about trade routes and border disputes. But she always had something to look forward to at the end of each day. Would be waiting in their chambers, usually with a cup of tea ready and questions about what she had learned. Today's meeting had been particularly exhausting. Her eldest brother, Crown Prince, had spent 3 hours arguing about military spending, rubbed her temples as she walked through the palace corridors, eager to return to the quiet peace of her rooms. Then she heard the sounds. A crash, the hiss of plasma fire, a scream that was cut short. The sounds came from her chambers. 4 hearts began to pound. Was alone up there, who had never held a weapon in his life, who smiled at everyone and apologized when he bumped into furniture. She ran. Her ceremonial robes were heavy and long, designed for beauty, not speed. She tore them away as she sprinted through the corridors, not caring about the shocked gasps of the servants she passed. Her bare feet slammed against the stone floor. Her lungs burned with effort. Please, she thought, please let him be alive. Please let me reach him in time. She reached her chambers and threw open the doors, expecting to find her husband's broken body lying on the floor. She had already prepared herself for grief, for rage, for the terrible sight of his gentle eyes staring at nothing. What she saw instead made her freeze. Stood in the center of the room. He was breathing hard, his simple clothes torn and stained with something dark. Around him lay 6 bodies. 6 massive bodies covered in black armor, their exoskeletons cracked and broken, their weapons scattered uselessly across the floor. The most feared assassins in the galaxy. They were monsters. Their kind had terrorized dozens of worlds. Their exoskeletons were harder than ship armor. Their claws could cut through steel. A single assassin could kill 100 trained soldiers. 6 of them lay dead at the feet of her human husband. Turned to face her and saw something she had never seen before. His eyes, usually so warm and gentle, were cold, empty, like windows into a dark and ancient place. His face showed no fear, no panic, no relief, just calm, terrible, absolute calm. In his hand was a sword. It was not a blade. It was not any weapon recognized. It was long and curved, made of folded steel that caught the light like dark water. The blade was covered in blood, thick and green, dripping slowly onto the floor. "Are you hurt?" asked. His voice was soft, concerned, exactly like it always was when he asked about her day or offered her tea, as if he had not just killed 6 of the deadliest creatures in the galaxy with a piece of metal. Could not speak. Her mind was trying to understand what she was seeing, but nothing made sense. This was her harmless husband, The man who burned dinner and grew flowers and fell asleep reading books. He stepped toward her and she took a step back without thinking. Something flickered in his eyes. Pain. Sadness. He stopped moving and lowered his sword. What? Finally found her voice. It came out as a whisper. What are you? Looked down at the blade in his hand. He looked at the bodies around him. He looked back at her, and the coldness in his eyes began to fade, replaced by something that looked almost like grief. I was hoping you would never have to find out, he said quietly. His legs felt weak. She leaned against the doorframe, her mind racing through everything she knew about humans. They were weak. They were fragile. They died from diseases that other species barely noticed. They had no natural weapons, no armor, no special abilities. They were the softest, most harmless species in the known galaxy. But the bodies on the floor told a different story. Thus she said, her voice shaking, they were, how did you? They made a mistake, said. He walked to a cloth on the table and began cleaning his blade with slow, careful movements. Each stroke was precise, practiced, the motion of someone who had done this 1,000 times before. They thought I was defenseless. They thought they could kill me quietly while you were away. But you are defenseless. You are human. Humans cannot fight like this. Paused in his cleaning. He looked at her with those eyes that she had thought she knew so well. Who told you that? He asked. Opened her mouth to answer, but no words came. The Galactic Assembly, the diplomatic reports, every piece of information she had ever read about humans, they all said the same thing. Humans were weak. Humans needed protection. Humans were no threat to anyone. The galaxy believes many things about my people, said. He finished cleaning the blade and held it up to the light. The steel gleamed, beautiful and deadly. Most of those things are lies. He slid the sword back into a sheath that had never noticed before, hidden inside the wooden box he had brought from Earth. The family treasure, he had called it. Nothing important. Who are you? Asked. What are you really? Looked at her for a long moment. Then he sighed, and suddenly he looked tired. So very tired, like a man carrying a weight he could never put down. I am your husband, he said. I am the man who tends your garden and burns your dinner and asks about your day. All of that is true. He paused. But I am also human, and there are things about my kind that the galaxy does not know, things we have kept hidden for a very long time. He walked past her, careful not to touch her, giving her space. He stopped at the door and looked back. Get some rest, he said gently. Tomorrow I will tell you the truth about Earth, about what we really are, about why the galaxy should be grateful that we choose to be kind. He left her standing in the room, surrounded by the bodies of 6 dead assassins, her entire understanding of the universe crumbling around her. The next morning, found in his garden, he was kneeling in the soil, carefully watering a small plant with yellow flowers. The morning sun made his black hair shine, and he looked exactly like he always did. Calm, gentle, harmless. But now knew better. She sat down on a stone bench nearby and waited. She did not know what to say. All night she had lain awake, staring at the ceiling, trying to understand what she had witnessed. 6 assassins, killed by a single human with a primitive blade. It should have been impossible. Everything she knew about the galaxy said it was impossible. And yet, finished watering his plant and wiped his hands on his clothes. He turned to face her, and his eyes were sad. You did not sleep, he said. It was not a question. No. He nodded slowly. I am sorry. I never wanted you to see that side of me. I hoped it would stay buried. He moved to sit beside her on the bench, leaving a careful distance between them. But you deserve the truth. Ask your questions. Had 1,000 questions. She chose the most important one. What is Earth really? Was quiet for a moment, gathering his thoughts. When he spoke, his voice was calm and steady, like a teacher explaining a difficult lesson. Earth is what the Galactic Assembly calls a death world, he said. It is a planet where everything is trying to kill you. The weather can freeze you or burn you. The ground can shake and swallow cities whole. The water can drown you, and the creatures in it can eat you alive. There are invisible things in the air that can make you sick and kill you in days. Listened in silence. She knew about dangerous planets. The galaxy had many of them, but the way spoke made Earth sound different, worse. Humans evolved on this world, continued. We had no armor like no venom like no telepathy like we were soft, weak, easy to kill. He smiled, but there was no warmth in it. So we learned to be something else instead. What did you learn? We learned to never give up. Picked up a small stone from the ground and turned it over in his fingers. Other species, when they face a stronger enemy, they run, they surrender, they accept defeat. But humans do not know how to do that. We cannot stop fighting. It is in our blood, in our bones, in the deepest part of what we are. He looked at her with those dark eyes that she now understood held depths she had never imagined. For 200,000 years we fought everything, he said. We fought the animals that hunted us. We fought the weather that tried to freeze us. We fought the diseases that tried to kill us. And when we ran out of enemies, we fought each other. War after war after war, for thousands of years, never stopping, never surrendering, always finding new ways to kill and survive. Felt a chill run through her body. They were warriors. They had conquered hundreds of worlds, but they fought with honor, with rules, with limits. What was describing was something different, something without limits at all. The Galactic Assembly discovered Earth 300 years ago, said. They watched us. They studied us. They saw our weapons, our wars, our endless violence, and they made a decision. What decision? To leave us alone. Dropped the stone and looked up at the sky. They were afraid, not of our technology, which was primitive compared to theirs, not of our numbers, which were tiny compared to their great empires. They were afraid of what we are, a species that cannot be broken, a species that will fight until the last breath, until the last drop of blood, until there is nothing left but ash and bone. Remembered the bodies of the assassins. She remembered the cold emptiness in his eyes as he stood among them. She was beginning to understand. The reports about humans, she said slowly, the ones that say you are weak and harmless. Lies, confirmed. Lies that we allow the galaxy to believe. Lies that protect us and protect everyone else. Protect everyone else from what? Turned to look at her directly. His face was serious, almost solemn. From us, from what we become when we have nothing left to lose. He stood up and walked to the edge of the balcony, looking out at the great city below. The capital stretched for miles, its towers gleaming in the morning light. Millions of people lived there, going about their daily lives, never knowing that a single human stood among them. My people have a chemical in our bodies, said. The scientists call it adrenaline. When we are in danger, when someone we love is threatened, when we are backed into a corner with no escape, this chemical floods through us. It makes us stronger, faster. It turns off the parts of our brain that feel fear and pain. It turns us into something else. What does it turn you into? His voice was quiet. Monsters, it turns us into monsters. He turned back to face her, and she saw the weight of ages in his eyes. The weight of 200,000 years of violence and survival. I came to this place hoping to be the man you met, he said. The gentle husband who tends gardens and burns dinner. That man is real. That man is who I want to be. He paused. But the other thing inside me is also real. The warrior, the killer, the monster that wakes up when someone threatens what I love. And the assassins threatened me, said softly. They threatened my wife. The words were simple, but the way said them made hearts beat faster. I did not think. I did not plan. The monster woke up, and when it went back to sleep, 6 were dead. Stood and walked to stand beside him. She looked out at the city, trying to process everything she had learned. Her husband was not the harmless creature she had believed. He was something far more dangerous, something the entire galaxy feared. And somehow, that knowledge did not make her want to run away. Why did you agree to this marriage? She asked. If humans are so dangerous, why come here? Why pretend to be weak? Smiled, and this time there was warmth in it, real warmth. Because being dangerous does not mean we want to hurt people, he said. We spent 200,000 years fighting. We are tired, so very tired. We want peace. We want to build things instead of destroy them. We want to tend gardens and burn dinners and ask the people we care about how their day was. He reached out and gently took her hand. His grip was warm, just like it had been at their wedding. I came here to build a bridge between our peoples, he said. I came here hoping I would never have to fight again. And I came here because, somewhere along the way, I began to care about you. Looked at their joined hands, silver against brown, against human, two species, two worlds, two completely different ways of being. I think, she said slowly, that I am beginning to care about you too. Smile grew wider. Then we will figure out the rest together. The investigation took 2 weeks. Used every resource available to her, called in every favor she was owed, and pushed until she found answers she did not want to find. The assassins had been expensive, very expensive. Someone had paid a fortune to have them kill quietly while was away. Someone with access to the palace schedules. Someone who knew exactly when her chambers would be unguarded. Someone in her own family. Stood outside the throne room, her hands shaking with rage. The evidence pointed to one person, her eldest brother, Crown Prince, the man who would one day rule the empire. Stood beside her, calm as always. He had dressed formally today in the dark suit he had worn at their wedding. The wooden box with his sword was strapped to his back, hidden beneath a long coat. You do not have to do this, he said quietly. We could leave, find somewhere safe, start over. Shook her head. If I run, he wins. If I run, he will hunt us forever. This ends today. She pushed open the doors and walked into the throne room. It was a massive space, built to show the power of the empire. Giant pillars of black stone rose to a ceiling covered in painted stars. At the far end sat the emperor's throne, a mountain of carved crystal that glowed with inner light. The emperor himself was not present today, away on diplomatic business in another system. Only was there, sitting in a smaller throne beside his father's seat, surrounded by his personal guards. 50 warriors in full battle armor, the finest soldiers in the empire. Saw enter and smiled. It was not a kind smile. It was the smile of someone who had already won. Sister, he said, spreading his hands wide. What a pleasant surprise. I heard about the attack on your chambers, such a terrible thing. I am so glad your little pet survived. You hired them, said. Her voice echoed through the hall. You paid them to kill my husband. The smile faded from his face. Careful, sister. Those are dangerous accusations. I have proof. Pulled a data crystal from her robes and held it up. Payment records, communication logs, everything points to you. For a moment, silence filled the throne room, then began to laugh. And what if it does? He said. Do you think anyone will believe you? Do you think father will punish me, his firstborn son, for killing a human? He spat the word like a curse. You married a creature, a pet, a stain on our family's honor. I was doing the empire a favor. He is my husband. Then you will die with him. Raised his hand and his guards moved forward. 50 warriors, each one bigger than, each one armed with plasma lances that could burn through stone. They formed a half circle around her, their weapons raised and ready. Drew her ceremonial blade, knowing it was hopeless. She was a princess, trained in politics and diplomacy, not warfare. She could not fight 50 soldiers. She could not even fight 5. But she would not go down without trying. Then she felt a hand on her shoulder. Step back, said. His voice was different, deeper, colder, the voice of a stranger wearing her husband's face. He walked past her into the center of the throne room. His footsteps echoed in the sudden silence. Every eye was on him, this small, fragile human who had wandered into a room full of warriors. Laughed again. What is this? The pet wants to play soldier. Did not respond. He simply reached behind his back and drew his sword. The blade sang as it left its sheath, a pure clear note that seemed to hang in the air. The steel caught the light from the glowing throne, shining like dark water, held it in front of him with both hands, his stance low and balanced. I tried to be peaceful, he said. His voice carried through the hall, calm and quiet. I tried to be the gentle husband, the harmless human. I wanted nothing more than to tend my garden and love my wife and live in peace. He raised his eyes to meet, and the crown prince's laughter died in his throat. Those were not human eyes anymore. They were the eyes of something old and terrible, something that had been fighting since before the empire existed. But you made a mistake, continued. A mistake that humans have been punishing for 200,000 years. What mistake? His voice cracked slightly. Smiled, it was not a gentle smile. You threatened my family. What happened next would be remembered for generations. Moved, he did not run or charge like a warrior would. He flowed like water finding its path downhill, like shadows sliding across a wall. The first guard swung his plasma lance, a blow that should have cut the human in half, but was not there anymore. He was beside the guard, his blade already moving, finding the gap between armor plates with surgical precision. The guard fell. Did not stop. He spun, ducked, twisted, his body always where the attacks were not. He did not try to block the plasma lances. He did not try to overpower the massive warriors. He simply moved around them, through them, his blade finding weakness after weakness. Joint neck, the soft spot behind the knee, the gap beneath the helmet. He was not faster than them. He was not stronger, but he fought with something they did not have. 10,000 years of refined killing instinct. The knowledge of a species that had spent its entire existence learning how to destroy things bigger and more powerful than itself. 10 guards fell, then 20, then 30. The remaining soldiers hesitated. They looked at the small human standing in a circle of their fallen brothers, his sword dripping with their blood, and for the first time in their lives, they felt fear. Who wants to be next? Asked. Nobody moved. Walked through them like a ghost, and they parted before him like waves before a ship. He climbed the steps to where sat frozen on his throne, and he stopped just before the crown prince. I could kill you, said quietly. Right now, it would be easy. You are nothing compared to what I have faced. Tried to speak, but only a terrified squeak came out. But I am not going to kill you, continued, because killing you would hurt, it would start a war, it would destroy everything I came here to build. He leaned closer until his face was inches from us. So instead, I am going to let you live with this moment. I am going to let you remember every day for the rest of your life that a human defeated your army and showed you mercy. He turned and walked back down the steps. He crossed the throne room to where stood, her mouth hanging open in shock. He took her hand, his grip warm and gentle. Let's go home, he said. I think I need to water my plants. They walked out of the throne room together, leaving behind 30 fallen warriors and a crown prince who had just learned what humans really were. The emperor returned 3 days later. He had seen the footage. Everyone had seen the footage. Someone in the throne room had been recording, and now the video of a single human defeating 50 warriors was spreading across the galaxy like wildfire. Every news channel showed it. Every planet talked about it. The entire universe was asking the same question. What were humans really? The emperor summoned into his private chambers. When they arrived, the old ruler was sitting in a simple chair, looking tired and old. Crown Prince knelt before him, stripped of his royal robes, his head bowed in shame. My son has confessed everything, the emperor said. His voice was heavy with disappointment. The assassination attempt, the conspiracy against your husband, all of it. Kept her face neutral. What will happen to him? Exile. He will be sent to the outer colonies, stripped of his titles and his claim to the throne. It is a fitting punishment for one who would murder family for pride. Did not look up. He did not say a word in his own defense. The memory of what had happened in the throne room had broken something inside him. The emperor turned his attention to. The old ruler studied the human for a long moment, his 4 eyes searching for something. "You could have killed him," the emperor said finally. "You could have killed all of them. Why did you show mercy?" Stood with his hands folded in front of him, calm and respectful. "Because mercy is a choice," he said. "Violence is easy. Any animal can fight when cornered. But choosing not to kill when you have the power to do so, that is what separates thinking beings from beasts." The emperor was silent for a long time. Then slowly he nodded. "The Galactic Assembly has contacted me," he said. "They are concerned. The video has changed how every species sees humanity. There are calls for investigations, demands for answers. Some are even suggesting that Earth should be sanctioned as a threat to galactic peace." Stepped forward. "Father, that is not fair," acted in self-defense. "He protected me when our own family tried to murder him." "I know, daughter, I know." The emperor raised a hand to calm her. "I have already spoken to the Assembly on humanity's behalf. I have told them that the Empire stands with Earth, that any action against humans will be considered an action against us." Bowed his head. "Thank you, Your Majesty. That means more than you know." "Do not thank me yet, human." The emperor leaned forward in his chair. "I have a question and I want an honest answer. Are there others like you, other humans who can do what you did?" Met the emperor's eyes without flinching. "Every human alive could do what I did," he said. "Given the right circumstances, given enough reason, given something worth fighting for." He paused. "That is what makes us dangerous. It is not our warriors or our weapons. It is that every single one of us, down to the smallest child, carries the same fire inside, the same refusal to give up, the same willingness to fight until there is nothing left." The emperor sat back, his expression unreadable. "Then the galaxy should be grateful," he said slowly, "that your people choose peace." "We do," said. "We are tired, Your Majesty, tired of fighting, tired of war. We came to the stars hopping to find something better, hopping to build instead of destroy. All we ask is to be allowed to live in peace." The emperor was silent for another long moment. Then he stood, walked to, and placed a heavy hand on the human's shoulder. "You have my word," the emperor said. "As long as I rule the empire, humanity will have our friendship and our protection. Not because we fear you, though perhaps we should, but because you showed my son mercy when he deserved none. And that tells me more about your species than any video ever could." The meeting ended, and walked with through the palace gardens. The evening sun painted the sky in shades of orange and purple, and the flowers in its garden were blooming beautifully. They sat on the stone bench together, looking out at the sunset. "Everything has changed," said quietly. "Yes. The galaxy knows about humans now. There will be no more pretending to be harmless." "No, I suppose not." Turned to look at her husband. He looked the same as he always had, calm, gentle, warm, but now she saw the other things too, the strength hidden beneath the softness, the warrior sleeping behind those kind eyes. "I was wrong about you," she said. Smiled. "Most people are. Not just about your strength." She reached out and took his hand. "I thought you were weak because you were kind. I thought gentleness was the same as being harmless, but I understand now. Being kind when you have the power to be cruel, that is the truest kind of strength." Turned to face her fully. His eyes were warm again, the dark depth hidden away. "In my culture," he said, "we have a saying. The sword that protects is held by a hand that loves. I never wanted to fight. I came here hoping I would never have to pick up that blade again. But when you were threatened, when our future was threatened, there was no force in the galaxy that could have stopped me." Felt something shift inside her. The last walls around her heart crumbled away. "I think I love you," she said. The words came out before she could stop them. "I know that seems strange. We barely know each other. Our marriage was political. But when I saw you in that throne room, standing against all those warriors for me, I felt something I have never felt before." Squeezed her hand. "I felt it too. From the first day, I think. When you forgave me for burning dinner, when you asked about my garden, when you looked at me like I was a person instead of a political tool." He stood and pulled her to her feet. They faced each other in the fatting light, silver and brown and human. "I do not know what the future holds," said. "The galaxy is changing. There will be challenges and dangers and probably more people trying to kill us. But I know one thing for certain." "What?" "I will spend the rest of my life loving you, fighting for you, protecting you. And when the fighting is done, I will come home and tend our garden and burn our dinner and ask about your day." He smiled, that gentle smile she had fallen in love with. "That is what humans do. We find something worth living for, and we hold on to it with everything we have." Pulled him close, wrapping her arms around his smaller frame. She had married a human thinking he was harmless, thinking she would need to protect him from the dangers of the universe. She had been wonderfully, beautifully wrong. "Then we will face the future together," she said, "whatever comes." Held her tight, and they watched the sun set over the Empire, two beings from different worlds who had found something rare and precious in each other. Above them, the stars began to appear, thousands of points of light representing thousands of worlds and billions of beings. Somewhere out there, the news of what had happened was spreading, changing how the galaxy understood humanity forever. But here, in this small garden on this balcony, there was only peace, only love, only a human and his wife holding onto each other as the universe spun on around them. And in the corner of their chambers, the wooden box sat quietly, the sword inside sleeping, waiting, ready to wake again if anyone ever threatened this small, perfect happiness they had built together. But for now there was only the sunset, only the flowers, only two hearts beating together in the growing dark. And that was enough.